Apologies ahead of time. I am a mess right now. My hair is ridiculous. I'm breaking out everywhere. Uh, all I really want to do is sleep. Uh, I am not doing well. I have been working on the next part of my reset series. Uh, if you have been here on my channel at all, you know that I'm very big on re-examining some of the topics that we grew up with in church that I think have gone completely away from scripture and what their original meaning was and is. Um, we've tackled, God's chosen people. Um, we've touched on, creation. We've touched on several different topics that need to be reassessed. And so the next topic that I was working on was heaven, hell, and the afterlife. A big topic in the church that just isn't being taught correctly, in my opinion. And it's kind of ironic that I'm working on this series because, for those of you who know, I lost my mom about a month ago. Um, it was very unexpected. I'm still in shock. It still hasn't set in, I don't think. Um, and obviously, like, if you've dealt with grief before, there's this cloud, this weight that just never really gets lifted. Um, I can run from it. I've been playing a lot of golf just to stay so mentally engaged somewhere else. Uh, so you can kind of mask it and run from it, but it doesn't go away. And I'm appreciative that uh, I have been working on this series in this season of my life because it has brought me a little comfort. I think if I would be going through this, 2, 3 years ago with a different mindset of what heaven is, who it's for, who it's not for, uh, what hell is, what actually happens after we die. Um, had I been going through this season, a few years back, I don't know if I would be handling it well. I don't know if I'm handling it well now, but at least there's a little comfort in knowing uh, my mom is where she was always intended to be. You know, right now that's at rest, awaiting her place in the kingdom. Um, and so I'm sitting here and, I've just been putting off everything. I'm supposed to get married in 2.5 months here. And I've just been kind of a zombie, you know. I have brief moments where, I feel normal and, me and Chelsea are goofing around, having a good time, and then it just hits me all over again. I almost feel bipolar in a way because I'm just so up and down, so up and down. Um, I don't really know how to be. I don't know how to feel. A lot of times I just kind of want to crash out. Especially, if you've been on my channel, I've been uh, deep into the Charlie Kirk investigation, and again, a good distraction at times, but just hearing the stupidity of some of these people just makes me want to go absolutely ape. um, but I'm reminded Matthew 11, Christ says, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and heavy burdened, and I will give you rest." And that word is really hitting me because I have not been able to rest since losing my mom. I'm obviously sad. I'm a little angry. I'm a lot of things right now, but what I'm not is restful or relaxed. I am on edge. I am uneasy 24/7. And I'm just focusing on those last words of that verse, Matthew 11:28. I will give you rest. Right? I don't have it internally. I need it to be provided to me. And I can feel that. I've had so many people that are reaching out and praying for me, and I can feel it. I can feel the Spirit trying to give me rest, trying to bring me peace. Even at times, I think I'm fighting against it because I feel like I should be, I don't know, like wrapped in a blanket, just crying 24/7. And I'm not. I'm sad. Again, I think I'm still in shock, but somehow I'm getting through it. You know, each day, just kind of little by little. And so I don't know. I don't even know why I'm making this video, to be honest. Other than I know there's other people who have dealt with this. I lost my dad in 2021. I've shared this before, and I don't really have any shame in it. I watched the vaccine kill my dad. My dad was a 71-year-old diabetic who had no business getting the jab. And when he did, it was April of 2021. I told Chelsea he won't be here in 6 months. I just knew it. I just knew it. I knew it was a terrible decision. I knew that he did it out of fear. And almost to the day, 6 months, he passed away. And to watch him slowly deteriorate, the muscle atrophy, the loss of appetite. I mean, he went from going to physical therapy, to get some more mobility in his body. He went from that to like not even being able to get off the couch. I remember one time he fell and we almost had to call the ambulance because I couldn't get him off the ground. My dad was 6'2", 220, a big guy. And me and Chelsea together couldn't get him off the ground. And he couldn't help himself. His legs just stopped working. It was crazy to watch. And my mom was never the same after that. A piece of her died with him. And now that I've gotten to go through like old pictures and stuff, I'm starting to understand that. My mom was with my dad since she was 15, 16 years old. Maybe a little older, I don't know, but high school, basically. And, she passed away at 72. So my dad was all she knew, if you think about it. To lose that it'll change you. And it did. It changed my mom. She was never quite the same. Her official cause of death is heart attack. Unfortunately, I found her at her house. And so that's an image that's just kind of been destroying me whenever it pops in my head. But if I know anything about Yahuwah and his favor and his grace and his mercy, she didn't suffer. Um, you know, I have to believe that she didn't suffer because my mom was too faithful of a woman to go out like that. But like I said, she was never the same. And if you ask me, I think she died of a broken heart. I think she was ready to go. I think a big part for her was just knowing that I was okay. So seeing me finally on my own too, me and Chelsea got our own house, we're paying our bills, we're getting by in this crazy economy. I think that was a level of peace that she needed. But I say all that just to say, one, I'm okay for the people who've been reaching out and haven't heard from me. I will be okay in time. Two, it's a reminder to myself and hopefully to those of you that might be grieving too. Maybe you've lost someone. Death was never the original intent of life. Death was introduced into this world. If you go back in Genesis, there's a point in time where the Father walked with Adam in the garden, right? Heaven and earth were one. And, imperfection and sin broke that bond. But the original intent was to be in communion with the Father forever. And that's where my mom is. The next time she opens her eyes, she will be in the presence of the Most High. She will be back to the original intent. And so I'm reminding myself of that because it's so easy to be selfish, right? Like, oh, I wish I had another day. I wish I had another this, another that. But it's like, as much as I want that, I don't want that here. Yeah, I want to see my mom again. I want to see my dad again, and I will. But not here. I want to see them in the kingdom. In order to do that, I have to be faithful and endure to the end. Because that's who the kingdom is reserved for. So I just reminder to myself and, like I said, to anybody else that might see this, don't be too selfish, right? If you're a believer and you know that, the person or the people you've lost died as faithful servants, then you know that their resting place is in the kingdom eventually. So don't be too selfish to where you want to wish them back to earth so bad. Like, that's not the original intent. At least not this earth, right? Heaven will be restored. Heaven will come back to earth. The kingdom will be restored on earth. And in that time, yeah, I want to be reunited with any and everyone. All the faithful servants, my parents, Rob Skiba, my grandmother, some good friends that have passed. Your loved ones that have passed who died faithful servants, right? Like, yeah, of course we want to be reunited with them, but under what circumstance? So I'm just reminding myself, like when I was at her funeral and I spoke, the very first thing I said to everyone in the room was, I need you guys to understand my mom is not in that box that you're looking at. Okay, you're staring at this box, right? Just the same way that the disciples uh, were staring at an empty grave, right? He's risen. you know, uh, my mom is awaiting her resurrected body. She's not in the box that's buried in West Chicago at the cemetery. It's not where she's at. And I get people get um, comfort and peace going to visit grave sites. I'm not trying to downplay that, but I have never gone to see my dad's gravesite. My mom, who is right next to him now, I have yet to go there, and I probably never will, because they're not there. It doesn't do anything for me. Trying to complete the mission, right, of getting to my resurrected body, of being a good and faithful servant, of being a disciple. That's where my focus is. That's where my head is. And I think a lot of that comes back to, Matthew 11, come as you are. I get too caught up in the perfection and all the little details having to be right. And sometimes you just have to come as you are. You're not going to have it all the time, right? I have to remind myself of this. Like, there's not going to be a time where it's like, okay, I'm ready to get back to regular life. Like, no, you just have to do it. And so I don't know if this encourages anyone, or if, I don't even know if anybody will see this. Who knows? But if you have lost someone, understand that, grief is something that we all go through. There are people that can relate to you and empathize with you. I am one of those people. If you need to vent, if you need an ear, I need to vent. That's why I'm doing this right now. I need an ear. I have had friends who have lost both their parents. A dear friend of mine that I grew up with, she lost her mom, I think, right before I lost my dad, or she lost her dad right before I lost my dad. And it's been very comforting to have her reach out to me, because she knows exactly what I'm feeling right now. Not only is she in the same situation, but we grew up together. So we both kind of have the same background when it comes to dealing with some of these things. So that's been helpful, and if I can be that for, just one other person who just needs to hear, like, hey, I'm going through this too, right? Like, I think now that I'm going through this, I think this is every son's worst day of their life, is losing their mother. And I think it's for this reason. There's something about it that just, when my dad passed, it was like, okay, now I got to be the man. I got to be the man of the house. I got to, I got these two women to protect, my fiance and my mother. And now I just feel like a little boy again, just sad, mopey, lost, just needing my mommy. So I empathize with any son who's had to deal with this. But, again, the encouragement is just show up, come as you are. It's not going to be perfect. I feel like there's a part of me that'll always be missing, but this walk, this life is about endurance. And it's spiritual endurance. Can you continue every day to pick up that cross and keep going, no matter how tired, how weary, how burdened you are? If you just show up, he'll give you rest. And it might be a little bit of rest. It might be a lot of rest. It might be literal rest, just a good night's sleep. But just come as you are.